Welcome to a Sunny Side Up Life podcast, a show for the woman who is ready to live an abundant life full of freedom and positivity. I'm Sami and I'm on a mission to help you break free from survival mode, gain financial freedom, stay motivated, and focus on what matters most. Join the movement and let's start living on the brighter side of life together. Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh, you guys, we are on episode number 12. I cannot believe we are so far into this podcasting journey. Whether this is the first podcast you're listening to or if you've been with me since episode number 1, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all of your love and support and hitting subscribe and leaving me reviews and sharing on social media, sharing with your friends and family, word of mouth. Oh my gosh, you guys, this podcast has grown so much faster than I really expected. And I am just so humbled and so grateful. So thank you so much for all of your support. And if you're just joining me, welcome. I am so glad that you are here and that you are taking the time out of your day to hang out with me. So I have a really fun and special and motivating message to share with you guys today. This is a topic that I've wanted to talk about for a while, and thank goodness I have a podcast now so I can do that. And it's a quote. You guys know that I love quotes. So this is one of my favorite quotes. I say that a lot. How many favorite quotes do I even have? I don't even know. But today's episode is called "The Way You Do One Thing is the Way You Do Everything." And my dad actually used to say this quote all the time. And I used to really not understand it when I was younger. And I even used to kind of think that he was picking on people. Like I just didn't understand it at all. But anyway, I have fully, as I've grown into this journey, as I have gotten further into this intentional living journey, I have found this quote to be more and more true as time has went on. And really, I think the root behind all of that is just the idea that all of this intentionality is contagious. And it spills over into everything that you do. And it really does. And you might have noticed this in your own life. And it's not just with budgeting. It's not just with money. It's with everything. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So that's great news if you're taking positive steps. But it can also be negative. So if you're being lazy and you're procrastinating or, you're not caring, you're not giving your all in one aspect of your life, it's going to spill over into the other aspects of your life as well. And I can give you a million examples. But I want to share a couple of my personal examples in just a minute. But, I really think that we can see this more in people that we look up to. So we look up to, celebrities, millionaires, billionaires, ultra successful people, just whoever you look up to. And you can see how they take pride in everything that they do, that they take pride in their appearance. They're most likely really fit. They're, they exercise, they eat healthy. They usually manage their money pretty well, depending on who it is that you're looking up to. And, I don't think that any of that is an accident. And there's a statistic that says that the average millionaire reads 2 or more books per month. Like, do you think that's an accident? I think it's kind of a chicken and an egg kind of debate. Like, which one came first, the chicken or the egg? Which one came first, the millionaire or the reading? Like, do they read a lot because they're a millionaire and they have so much free time? Or did they become a millionaire because they read so much and they worked on their personal development and they learned about different aspects of life? I think it's a little bit of both. I think that it's a continuous cycle of growth and pushing yourself and intentionality in every single aspect of your life. One of my favorite examples of this that I saw happen was I follow Andy Frisella. If you're not familiar with Andy Frisella, he's amazing. And his company, First Forum, they sell supplements and vitamins and all of that great stuff. And he also has a top podcast, the MFCEO Project. It's awesome. I follow him, his brother, his wife, his sister-in-law, like their whole family, a lot of their employees, a lot of their First Form athletes. They're just a very inspirational company. I'll link to his Instagram in the show notes here. You should totally check it out, especially if you're an entrepreneur or you're someone who is into fitness and things like that. So anyway, what he does at his company is he's a CEO of his company, and this one time on his Instagram stories, and he's done this multiple times actually, he does kind of like a surprise inspection of his employees' cars. And he Insta-storied this one day. And he was like calling people out for like trashing their cars and like different things, or like applauding people for having clean cars. And at the end of all of this, he's like, I'm not doing this to be a jerk. I have a good reason behind this, because I don't want the kind of people working for me that can't remember to pick up their lunch trash, or that, when they get home, they can't take their stuff inside. They just leave it in their car. Like, I don't want that kind of person working for me. And he's like, so it's not to be a jerk. It's not to like embarrass them on Instagram or anything. It's to set a precedent for the kind of employees that we want working for us. Because if you can't even do something as simple as keep your car clean, we don't want you at this company. And, I was just like, at first I was like, well, that's kind of rude. And then I really started thinking about it, and I was like, he's right, though. He's right. I mean, as a CEO, like, he's right. And that really got me, that kind of all full circle got me thinking back to what my dad used to say. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And that is basically what he meant in that moment of showing his employees cars. And then I started thinking, how does this relate to my own journey? And I really started putting all of the pieces together. And our journey, I talk about a lot how our journey really got started with minimalism. We were in a 3,200 square foot house that was literally bursting at the seams with clutter. How do you even have a house that big and still not have enough room? That makes absolutely no sense. That defies the laws of science and math. And so I found my now good friend, Ali Casaza, and I was one of her very first students in her course. Her course literally changed my entire life. Her teachings literally changed my entire life. I started adopting minimalism. I started getting control of my home, and in return, I had more time. And then I started to think, well, what else feels out of control? What else can I fix? I have a little bit of free time now. I was still, minimalism is a growing process that you get better and better and better at. But I was finding free time, and I was like, hey, what else can I get intentional about? And this was kind of during that rock bottom of our, like, the lowest that we were financially during this year. And I was in like this what felt like a never-ending depression that lasted almost a year, and everything felt so dark. But when I started to work on minimalism, I started to be intentional with my home. I saw a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And then I thought, let's work on the money. And there was a little bit more of a light. And then we started to be like, hey, we're onto something here, like with this, being serious about our life stuff. And then we had so much more free time. I, especially as a stay-at-home mom, I had so much more free time. And then I was like, so what should I do with this free time? And then I realized, how many other women are out there feeling the same way I feel. I have a story, and I started my blog, and I felt like I had a story to share. I had a message on my heart, this minimalism, this budgeting, this intentional living, this positive thinking. It had changed my entire life and I wanted to share it. And now I had time to do it. So I started my blog and I also started to exercise more. I started to read more. In return with exercising more and actually cared about how my body felt and looked and how I felt in my skin, I started eating better. My mental health improved. I was able to look at myself in the mirror with no makeup and still like who I was. Like that was groundbreaking for me, to look in the mirror with no makeup and be like, hey, you're still beautiful. And so my mental health improved so much. My self-respect grew. And now that we're in this tiny house, even running my business, even homeschooling my kids, I still have free time, you guys. I still have free time. I still have intentional set aside time for hobbies. I started doing puzzles. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you might know that I do puzzles now, like jigsaw puzzles. And at the beginning of the year in January, one of my goals was I want to have more gray time, which is what I call it, because my life was so black and white. I was working or homeschooling or I was sleeping, and there wasn't a lot of in between. And I was like, hey, you're in this tiny house. You've really got a system down with your work. You're debt-free. You're about as minimalist as you can get for a family of 5 living in a 750 square foot house. You feel great with your body. Your mental health is getting better and better. It's time to work on some gray area, some in between. You can be awake and not working. You can be awake and not homeschooling. So I started to pick up more hobbies. I couldn't remember the last time I had done a puzzle. So I started doing that. I started doing like Sudoku, however you say it, word puzzles, number puzzles, number puzzles. I started reading more. I started listening to audiobooks more. I have started listening to the Bible on audio. I started to slow down more. One of my daily goals for this entire year of 2018 has been to spend some time outside every single day. So usually every morning I go outside now and I drink my coffee. I don't drink my coffee in a rush every morning. And we spend a lot more time. We don't let our laundry get out of hand. We do our laundry on the weekends. We deep clean our house on the weekends. Like, it doesn't get out of hand. We keep our cars clean now. I mean, I have crumbs in my car because, let's be honest, I have 3 kids, but I don't have trash in my car because I have pride in my possessions, right? I have pride in my time. It takes less time to grab the trash or whatever. You know, there's always something. There's always something to grab on your way back in the house. It takes less time to grab it in the first place. Take it inside, throw it in the trash. Take it inside, put it away where it goes. It takes less time to do it right the first time. And I'm working on, so this is the step I'm on now. I am working on getting more intentional with my phone time, with my screen time, my social media time, because as someone who runs their business from social media and from a computer and from a phone, it's really hard to know where that line is. So I'm working on that. I'm working on not procrastinating. Still working on that. But my point is, of this long ramble, of this staircase of personal development, this staircase of intentionality, is that it has grown. And I realized that when I got intentional with one aspect of my life, it started to spill over into everything. And this was not an overnight process, you guys. Obviously, this has been 4 or 5 years in the making. So keep in mind as you're going through your own journey, like, don't expect this to be a light switch. This, as Rachel Hollis says, this is not a light switch. This is an overnight process. This is a journey, you guys. But just know that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So start looking for those areas that you are slacking in and start to make small but positive progress. And realize that like, okay, when you get really good and settled in this budgeting thing, and it might take a while, several months, it might even take a year, whatever it looks like for you. But you start to be like, hey, I've got this budgeting thing under control. It's time to start working on my time management. You got your time management under control. Hey, what could I do to like help my personal development a little bit more? Actually, one of my readers, and she was one of my first budgeting students, Katie, shout out Katie, if you're listening. She is an amazing example. She was also one of Ali Casaz's Minimalism students. And that's how she found me, was some guest work that I did with Ali. And then she started getting on her budgeting game. And then she started getting on her side hustle game. And she started working with VIP Kid and doing that whole side hustle and earning her family like a lot of extra money and being such a rock star. And then she started working on her fitness. And she's lost like, I think it's like 100 pounds, like something epic. She's a total rock star, you guys. And that is just one of thousands and thousands of examples of women who are out there doing it. And hey, we're all just moms, we're all just wives, we're all just women who just want better. And that if we can do it, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. For sure. For sure. I mean, literally, I was living in a 3,200 square foot house and it was still cluttered, right? I was in almost $500,000 worth of debt. I couldn't look at my face without cringing with no makeup on. I mean, come on, you guys. I used to be the person who you open the door of the car and stuff would just fly out at you. I used to I used to not even know what my hobbies were. I used to be the queen of procrastination. So bad. I'm such a bad procrastinator that I'm 5 years into this journey and I still don't feel like I have it completely conquered. But the point is that I have realized that if I want a positive, intentional life, that I have to put that positive intentionality into every single thing that I do. And I have to look for those areas where I'm slacking, and I have to take active steps to improve it. Because it's not going to improve itself. This is my life, and I am in control of it. And I want you to think about that. Think about what goals you can set daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. What can you do? What goals can you set? What intentions can you set? What can you start to make progress on to improve these areas? Because they matter. They all matter. You don't have to do them all at once. It doesn't have to be an overnight process. It can take you several years, and you're going to still continue to be a work in progress. Because I heard this quote the other day that humans are like trees. If we're not growing, we're dying. There's no in between. If we're not growing, we're dying. That's epic. That could be a whole nother podcast episode. We're not going to get into that. But I want you guys to think about it. I'm serious. What goals can you set? That's your homework. That is your homework. What goals can you set today, this week, this month, this year, to start making some positive, intentional progress? Because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. If you are slacking, you're going into something negatively, if you're half-heartedly putting in the effort, that's the kind of results you're going to get. So, it's your choice, you guys. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. I hope that speaks to whoever needed to hear it today. And I hope that really resonates with a lot of you. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of the podcast. If you want to catch the show notes for this episode and all of the previous episodes, you can go to asunnysideuplife.com/podcast, scroll down, and you can select all of the previous episodes to see their individual show notes and all of the links and resources that I mention in every single episode. Also, I have a really exciting new free resource coming to you guys next week, if you are listening to this at current time, launching on October 4th, 2018, called the Magic and Money Free Course. And it is a 5-day mission to revitalize your money mindset. If you are listening to this before October 4th, you can go ahead and get on the wait list. And if you're listening to this after October 4th, jump on over to asunnysideuplife.com/magic-money-free-course. And I'll put the links in the show notes of this episode as well, where you can either get on the wait list or go ahead and enroll. And this is going to be an amazing free course that is designed to help you revitalize your money mindset and rekindle your spark for life. Magic and Money will be sent to you via email with text and video material over the course of 5 days. With short, actionable lessons, this course is perfect for the woman that is ready to overcome the overwhelm of her relationship with money. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to hit subscribe, leave me a review, and share this episode with your friends and family on social media, and of course by word of mouth. I appreciate you guys for joining me, and I will talk to you guys next week.